Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Vanessa to defeat Karolina Kowalkiewicz. And I'm here to recap UFC Dern versus Hill. This is going to be all the shit you're going to hear me say next time. You know, not everything, I guess, but whatever I took away from these fights. So let's start at the top. Angela Hill versus Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern dominated Hill. Dominated her. I thought she looked incredible. This was a thorough 5-round ass-kicking, and one of the most exciting 5-round ass-kickings I've seen in a while. You know, I guess I really expected Dern to get a finish, to be honest, especially if the fight looked the way it did. But you got to credit Angela Hill. She's historically been a very good nail. You know, she can take it, but here she was really the nail, getting smashed, bullied around everywhere, on the feet, on the ground, in the clinch. Multiple submission attempts against the best submission artist, in female MMA. And she survived, went the distance, and I was really impressed with that. I said she was a very underrated 15-12 coming into this. Now she's a very underrated 15-13. But the story of this fight is she's not on Mackenzie Dern's level. And Mackenzie Dern she leveled up here. She was the more physical fighter, as I speculated on, and she even had the more, powerful punch. She wins the overhand right battle, but I didn't expect her to really, bully Angela and get the better of her everywhere. She was hurting Angela Hill, some nasty fucking ground and pound too, and the submission attempts. I mean, Mackenzie's already proven to have good cardio, winning that 5th round against Yan Xiaonan, but still, here she looked better and better. Got 10-8 rounds, multiple 10-8 rounds, 1, 3, and 5 in my opinion, but 3 and 5, especially 5, Mackenzie Dern looked fucking awesome. She did call out Rose Namajunas, which, let me say here and now, I'm picking Mackenzie Dern if that happens. I don't like to make predictions too far out, and I will research the fight if it does come on my plate, and I will, try to pick it apart, but right here with a gun to my head, I'm going with Mackenzie Dern. I think that's a very favorable matchup for her. She is a physical beast. I wish she was more of a wrestler, had more wrestling, but hey, she's getting better, I'm assuming, and she looked damn good here. This was her finest performance, I guess. I don't know, she's gotten first-round arm bars over some really good fighters, but my estimation of her as a fighter jumped in this fight more than it did in any other fight. I knew she could armbar Ronda Marcos, and I knew she could dominate Angela Hill, but, I think more of her as a striker now. I think more of her as an overall fighter. This was an excellent victory, and both these girls really, proved to be reliable headliners here. I know Hill, now I think this is her second fight she's headlined. She lost both of them, even though the first one was a dicey decision. Here, she, looked damn good, getting her ass kicked for 5 rounds, and I think it got fight of the night. And you always got to credit the nail in a fight like that when it gets fight of the night. So credit to her. But yeah, this was the Mackenzie Dern show. She looked fucking awesome and leveled up and just bullied Angela Hill around. Great win for Mackenzie Dern, who was dangerous. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez beats Edmen Shabazian. I don't know if we learned too much from this fight. This was a very tough matchup for Edmen Shabazian. I thought he had a window to get Hernandez out of there, and I do think, he's got the striking prowess to get it done. But he just, once this fight became a grappling battle, which was in round 1, it was over for him. He did survive a while, and Anthony Hernandez was beating him up and threatening him in every which way, but in the end, it was just too much. And in the end, this loss looks almost exactly like his other losses. Could even be at the same fucking second in which he was finished as the Brunson fight or whatever. But, he definitely has a lot of work to do. And I think, he's, whatever his ceiling is, it's not championship, in my opinion. He's got a lot of work to do. He's still relatively young, 25 years old, but here he is, changing camps and really working on all of his weaknesses and, giving it a good go. Sounded really good in the pre-fight interview, and this fight looked exactly the way his other losses looked, But for Hernandez, look, I love watching that guy fight. Speaking of domination, you know, he got the finish unlike Mackenzie Dern, but it's like the same type of fighter. I love watching Hernandez fight. The guy just has a relentless pace. He gains and gains and gains, and he's deadly on the ground. Really deadly, really crafty. And, you know, Shabazian, even though he's limited on the ground, he's never been submitted. Seemed like TKO was always the route, and Hernandez got him out of there. You know, I thought he could have got him out of there in round 2, but, you know, kind of glad he got him out of there in round 3, to be honest. But great win for Anthony Hernandez. Great win, co-main event, and he produced some great television, even if it wasn't the most competitive fight. Loopy Godinez beat Emily Ducote. A solid performance from Loopy Godinez, who did take this fight on short notice, although I'm sure she was in shape because she took the fight. But yeah, she looked to be in shape. She looked really good in this fight. I thought the straight punches of Ducote would have carried the day, if that's the right expression, on the feet over Loopy's more wild punches, you know, hooks and whatever. But Loopy Godinez was managing her range really well and doing so with the athletic advantage. Ducote is just, she's limited athletically. But Loopy was managing her range really well, kept her on the end of her hooks, and was really beating her up throughout. I thought this was an excellent performance from Loopy Godinez. And she did get her down eventually. And, you know, I thought, still though, she exceeded my expectations by winning this fight purely on the feet, really. Great performance from Loopy. And for Ducote, you know, she definitely is limited, like I said, athletically, and that's going to cause her problems here in the UFC. But she's a tough girl, only been finished once, and I thought she looked better at the end. She wasn't the last woman standing, as I like to say. I thought Loopy won the 3rd round. I thought Loopy won all the rounds. But Ducote picked up a little steam in round 3. And, yeah, that's something. But still, she was kind of, you know, a step behind the whole way here. So, tough loss for her. And great win again for Loopy. I love Loopy. I love saying Loopy. Joaquin Buckley knocked out Andre Fialho. This almost went the distance. You know, it was the end of the 2nd round when he got him out of there. But I was sure this was going to end in a knockout. These guys just have the power and the chins, you know, lack thereof, to produce a knockout. And Buckley, man, he looked awesome at 170. That's my primary takeaway here. You know, this is the first time he's been there in a while, and he looked awesome. Really functioned well. I mean, he's insane athletically, just an insane athlete. You know, like I talked about with Loopy, managing the range with his athleticism. And yeah, he was just much faster than Fialho, and in the end, more powerful. He got a beautiful head kick, which another win with his legs. But it's not as impressive, obviously, as the Impa Kasanganay victory, but it is a damn good highlight. Buckley is, you know, Mr. Highlight. I love watching this guy fight. Can't wait to see him back at 170. He, you know, I will have doubts about his chin moving forward. That's what you'll hear me say next time, no doubt. No matter who he's fighting. Fucking Damian Maia comes back. I'll be like, oh no, there's a chance he gets knocked out. But Buckley, he can knock anybody out at the same time. I believe that. And he looked damn good against Andre Fialho. I can't say it was total domination, but I thought he was winning, and then he won with a beautiful finish. And for Fialho, now he's got 5 knockout losses. I don't even know how many of them in a row here, but he's got a good chunk lately. He's still 29 years old, so he's healthy overall. His body is healthy, but all it takes is one part, and it's his chin. That, I don't know. You know, I don't know if that can be replaced or whatever, or fixed, but it's a gaping hole in his game, and, you know, it just takes one part to ruin the fucking vehicle. And I think he's not long for the UFC, in my opinion. I think if he sticks around, he's only going to get separated from his senses more and more. Slava Cosce knocked out Maheshate. This was a great victory for Slava Cosce. I can say that I expected more wrestling from Maheshate. I don't know if he saw Slava Cosce's losses or his team or whatever, but Mahechate's a very good, strong, young athlete. Definitely had some physical advantages over Slava, height and reach and whatever, you know, height and reach, but also just obviously physicality, and he was stronger and faster. But Slava calls, you fight that guy on the feet, you're pretty much fucked, you know? And Slava ripped him to the body again. He doesn't get credit for the body shot being the knockout, and it didn't knock him out, but it's totally what opened up that knockout, that body shot right beforehand. He's got a mean left hook to the body, and in my opinion, it carried him to another victory here. Great win for Slava cause. For Maheshate, he's still only 23 years old, but he's got to develop a wrestling game. So, he's got to be able to use his athleticism in many different ways. He tried to use all of his gifts here to beat Slava cause in a stand-up fight, which could have happened, but here he needed to wrestle. And even then, like I said, into the pre-fight, I thought he was going to wrestle, but I didn't expect him to be able to do so successfully. But I thought he needed to try at least. And I don't even know, maybe he did try, but I don't remember him trying. So definitely limited as a fighter, Maheshate. Again, I think I've seen him hit like one takedown against some scrub. He fought a bunch of bums before he got to the UFC or Contender Series or whatever. But not a lot of takedowns in him, and I expected to see something new here. Didn't see anything new, and in the end, he ended up getting pieced up and knocked out. Great win for Slava cause, and great fucking dance, too. Whatever the hell that is. It's worth the price of admission. It's worth, it makes for great television, and just fucking, it's my favorite sight. Just such a cool dance, great TV. Carlos Diego Ferreira knocked out Michael Johnson. This was one of the best knockouts I've ever seen. I don't know if it's top 10 or top 50 or whatever, but it's one of the best. Just one of the best overhand rights, clean, knocked him dead, which really sucked to see, because, who doesn't love Michael Johnson? And he's only been knocked out a few times, really only once legitimately by Josh Emmett, and Justin Gaethje beat him down, but after he beat Justin Gaethje down. But Michael Johnson now, 36 years old, and he suffers a second knockout loss, and it's, probably life-changing. He did not look good there. And, he looked great up until the knockout, but you know what I mean. In the moment there, that was a rough knockout. Big overhand right on the button. Diego Ferreira is a guy who, I said, he's got some beautiful wins in the UFC, all due to his striking. And he's got knockouts as well, but he's not a guy that I expected to have, the power to knock out Michael Johnson with a one shot like that. And he did. He looked really good physically, Diego Ferreira, even though I thought he was behind in the fight. I thought Michael Johnson was leading the dance, and I thought Michael Johnson was on his way to a victory. But, man, your health, the fighter's health, it's something that, it's always there. And and the power is always there, too. And sometimes it's just whatever. A combination of those two, you got a big fucking knockout in the middle of nowhere. And, man, great win for Diego Ferreira. Snaps a 3-fight losing streak. Does so in incredible fashion. Easily the highlight of his career. And this could be the highlight of the year, the knockout of the year. So, awesome moment for him. And cool of him to cradle Michael Johnson's head after he, smashed his face with a hammer fist. But you could tell he felt bad. I really like Diego Ferreira. He's a great guy, and I'm happy to see him get a victory, even though it's at the expense of Michael Johnson, who it sucks watching him get knocked out. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, speaking of momentum, she definitely's got some momentum here. She had momentum coming into this fight, but now she gets another big victory. I don't know how big it is, to be honest, but a solid victory here over Vanessa Demopoulos. Vanessa looked limited. I thought she'd be able to use, I thought she'd have an athletic advantage and be the faster fighter, be able to close the distance on the feet and, at least try to engage in grappling. But I don't even remember too much engagement. I think she tried a few takedowns, and I don't really remember, but that's probably because they were stuffed so easily. This was just Karolina leading the dance. Karolina countering well when she wasn't leading the dance, crashing into Vanessa Demopoulos with big punches, and Karolina looked like more powerful than I remember her, being. I know she cracked Joanna Jędrzejczyk, but she was really cracking tonight, and I thought she had really crisp striking, and Vanessa was never really in it, She was a step behind the whole way, and Karolina was bullying her, keeping her at range and winning the range battle. So great win for Karolina Kowalkiewicz. She has a lot of momentum now, and I mean, I said that coming in, but next time, you'll be able to tell I believe it. She looks really good now at 37 years old. And for Vanessa Demopoulos, that's a tough loss. Another loss in which she wasn't finished. Now, she's got 5 losses, all by decision, and all to really good fighters. But she's a limited fighter. Her best asset is her ground game, and she lacks the wrestling to get it there, or the creativity, or the knockdown power, like Mackenzie Dern. But, she's limited, and here she was, she hit that wall again, and that wall was Kowalkiewicz. Great win for Karolina. Gilbert Urbina took out Orion Cosce. This was a beautiful fight for Urbina. Just a great performance. I thought he was winning the whole way, and I thought he could have got him out of there at the end of round 1. Cosce is just a limited fighter. He's limited. He's got knockout power and good enough like wrestling, striking, that wrestle boxer thing going on. But here he was against a better fighter. Urbina doesn't have a lot of experience. Neither does Orion. But Urbina, he was easily the better fighter. I mean, visibly the much better fighter. And I thought he was just better everywhere. Ended up beating him down, got him out of there with a big front kick. And Orion, this was a tough loss. 2 knockout losses for him in his only 2 losses. And for Urbina, he gets his second TKO victory in his 7th win. Urbina, I really like what I see from him. He's a guy that seems like he could fight like Fluffy Hernandez. That's how, ripping you to the mat at a high pace, and he's probably better on the ground, but he's pretty good on the feet as well. And he showed there are levels, and at a lower level fight like this in the UFC, sometimes the difference could be huge, and that's what this was. Orion was not on Gilbert Urbina's level. Can't wait to see Urbina back. And Cosce, too. I don't know if we'll see him back or not. Probably, but he's got some work to do. Yeah, he will. He won a fight against Blood Diamond before this one, so we'll probably see him back. But I don't know. I think he's pretty limited. I don't trust his chin. I don't trust a lot about him as a fighter. Cardio as well. This is the second TKO he's gotten. The second loss of his, both by second round TKO. So he's definitely got some problems he's got to fix. But Gilbert Urbina, even though he's got problems he's got to fix as well, being submitted and knocked out already, Gilbert Urbina still got a much higher ceiling, and I really liked what I saw from him. Rodrigo Nascimento beat Ilir Latifi. This was not dominance. This was a close fight, kind of, and I thought Latifi could have taken over the fight if, with his wrestling. I thought he was starting to when he hit that takedown in round 2, but it just wasn't meant to be. He was just limited, and Rodrigo Nascimento is a big boy. That's tough. That's a tough guy to bully. So Latifi, his primary strength was taken away from him in the wrestling, and Rodrigo Nascimento's primary strength was taken away from him in his top game and grappling, and they ended up on the feet, and Rodrigo had too much for him overall. Great win for Rodrigo Nascimento. He's got a few wins that mean something. Most of them don't, but this showed us he's, UFC level. Another great victory for Rodrigo Nascimento. And for Latifi, he wasn't finished here, and he didn't look bad. He was competitive, but he's limited and old. He was limited in his prime, and now he's in his 40s. So I don't know if he'll stick around. I know he retired after his last fight, but this was a tough setback. I say setback like he's on the road to the title, and this knocked him back a little bit. That might be it for him. But either way, I loved watching Latifi fight if that was it for him. Chase Hooper beat Nick Fiore. Chase Hooper looked awesome in this fight. He really did look awesome. This is a fight where I'm going to go back to saying, I'm telling you, this guy can knock out fucking Crow Cop. Because that's what I was saying after he beat Felipe Colares. And then Steve Garcia reminded me that he's limited. But here, I still think he's limited, and he did look sloppy and whatever. I guess frenetic would be the better word. He looked frenetic. And frenetic kind of means sloppy, but he was too much for Nick Fiore. I think Nick Fiore, his path to victory here was physicality, and he was losing that battle. And he was almost knocked out in like every round pretty much. I think the very end of the first round, I thought he was going to get finished, and even the second round, he was beaten up here. Chase Hooper looked awesome. His striking, you could say what you will about it, he didn't look powerful certainly, but He looked really good, accurate. I wish he would have mixed up more body shots. That's my one critique of his offensive striking. Bullying a guy against the cage, and he was ripping nice uppercuts and really touching his chin, but he was doing too much head hunting, in my opinion. I think a well-placed body shot could have produced a finish in any round there, or any moment in which he was teeing off. But you have to give him credit for his work rate. Chase Hooper, even on the feet, throwing that many punches, he looked like he was working his ass off. He threw a lot of great volume in those moments. And on the ground, of course, Chase Hooper, he was mounted even in this fight. But he's a tough guy. I mean, it's like trying to wrestle a fucking fish or something. Trying to grapple with a fish. You can't get a hold of this guy. He's got such long legs. He could lace a leg around your fucking neck from any position and fucking pry himself out of a shitty spot, and and he can lace a leg and go for a submission, as he was doing multiple times. But in general, his overall game was too much for Fiore, and I think Fiore, he's definitely limited here. I credit him for surviving, and he's only been knocked out once, and was as an amateur via a fucking slam, but he didn't look good on the feet here, and he looked rocked against Chase Hooper. So, tough loss for Fiore. He's still young, 25 years old, but Chase Hooper at 23 looked fucking amazing, and that's the story of this fight. He had twice the experience of Fiore, a lot more high-level experience as well, despite being 23, and he just looked levels better in every realm, really. So awesome win for Chase Hooper. I'm telling you, this guy's going to knock out fucking Peter Yan or whatever. No, he's a lightweight. Anyway. Yeah, you'll hear me say next time that my estimation of his striking has gone up again, but I'm going to cool the jets a little bit when it comes to praising him and saying he's going to knock out Crow Cop or whatever. Natalia Silva might knock out Crow Cop. She could probably do that right now. She looked fucking awesome against Victoria Leonardo. Victoria was just too limited, and, I thought she could have had a potential physical advantage and wrestling advantage, and I had doubts about that in the first place, and she just had nothing for Natalia. And Natalia was beating her up. I thought the fight would have looked like this, but the finish would have come a little later, like in round 2. And instead, she got her out of there in like 2 minutes. Victoria Leonardo was hit with too many strikes. A big left hook, I think, is what got her to shell up and, fall down. She kind of just folded, It was too much for her. Now she's got 5 losses. And all 5 of them are via finish, 4 of them via TKO. So, her reputation or her profile as a fighter has only been reinforced. And for Natalia Silva, she's only reinforced my expectations for her. She looked fucking awesome. I thought she should have been in a higher profile fight, higher placement on the card. But, the matchup is what the matchup is. But next time, I expect something from her. I expect something from the UFC. I want to see Natalia Silva fight somebody a little better, and I want to see her fight on a main card. She is now 3-0 in the UFC with 2 excellent finishes. And this one wasn't even the best one. The other one was better. But, the sky's the limit. Can't wait to see her fucking fight. And for Victoria Leonardo, if this is it or whatever, she did her job. She looked good there. She didn't look good, but she did her job. Fucking getting her ass kicked, pretty much. Fighters have to serve a purpose. Takashi Sato had nothing for Themba Gorumbo. I mean, he was defending takedowns early on, I thought, pretty well, but I thought he was doing that against Bilal Muhammad, too. Look how that ended up. But Gorumbo really impressed me here. He almost knocked out Takashi Sato. I mean, I thought it was a knockout. And then for the next 15 seconds, I thought it was a TKO. And then he ended up winning a decision. But overall, his grappling was too much for Sato. I was impressed with Gorumbo's cardio. I had doubts about that. That was my primary doubt coming into this fight. I thought if he found himself in round 2, he'd start to get a little shaky. But no, actually, round 2 is when he cracked Sato, which might have, given him the victory right there. But Themba Gorumbo, I definitely think more of him as a fighter now. I thought he looked really good in this fight. Dominated Sato everywhere, pretty much. Had a lot of big moments. And even though he wasn't able to get the finish, I liked his work rate. Fighters, even if... he's definitely a submission artist, and he's got a lot of great submissions. I don't even think he's got one rear naked choke, actually. He's got 6 submissions. I think not one of them is a rear naked choke. I could be wrong. But either way, You don't need to have the rear naked choke if you have the fucking body triangle. That's winning you the fight anyway. So, great win for Themba Gorumbo. And for Takashi Sato, he may have served his purpose as well, like Victoria Leonardo. I credit him for surviving, but he's definitely at the bottom end of the UFC, certainly after this loss here. And even his wins, as I mentioned in the pre-fight video, they've gotten worse with age. Jason Witt, Ben Saunders, I love Ben Saunders, but he was too old and weathered. So, really tough loss for Sato, and great win for Themba Gorumbo. I think he stepped on his head and stayed afloat. He's going to stay in the UFC now. So, yeah, great fucking card. Great event, I should say. The card is the names on the paper. The event is the fights in the cage. So this was a great event. I really enjoyed it. A lot of awesome finishes and cool moments. And that's all the shit you'll hear me say next time. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.